movie Weapons. It's a case study in constraint, revealing less. Um, if you look at a lot of startups or if you worked in a lot of businesses, there's always this like trend of oversharing. Tell everybody everything. Let them know everything about the product. But the movie Weapons kind of did the opposite. And I'm not going to give away any spoilers or anything, but just in case some people aren't familiar with the movie, it's like about these 17 children that wake up one night and walk downstairs and run out the door into the darkness and are never seen again. And they all come from one class with one teacher. And that is essentially the whole premise for the movie. And the movie was released, I think, about 2 weeks ago. And it's been a huge hit for the director, I think, Zach Cregers. He also did Barbarian, by the way, which is another really good movie. He was produced for around, say, $38 million. And I think globally it's on track to hit around $200 million. And it's kind of bouncing between number one and number two, depending on how it's calculated with I think K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
lost it
So,
this week.
yeah. So I think it's probably dropped to number two. But what I found interesting about it was that when it started its early marketing back in around, I think, April time. And it started off with this really like lo-fi, crappy website. I think the website was called maybrookmissing.com. And it looks like a website that was produced in 1995 GeoCities by a local town journalist that like has built it's their first website. So it looks real, but something that was different about this campaign that had similarities with, if you remember the Blair Witch Project
Hmm.
from a way back, the Blair Witch Project wanted you to believe it was real.
Hmm.
Like they wanted you to think that this actually happened, and they created a documentary about the missing, say, filmmakers and what happened to them. Whereas Weapons didn't want you to believe it's real; they wanted you to feel it's real, and want you to experience that you want it to be real, but you know it's not.
Hmm.
But I think what using the lo-fi website where they added these like clips of the kids on it, which were like 20-second clips, and then a few weeks later, I think they added a 2 hour
So
surveillance
clips of
video.
what? Clips of them running?
Yeah, just literally very vague clips of these kids like running out the door on their CCTV. And
Got it.
what's good is
So,
like
but
the
they're
videos.
doing that like move, right? With like their arms stuck out on the side and they're doing the little
Exactly.
run. Hmm.
Yeah, it's very
Super
iconic. It's very
creepy.
yeah, it's super creepy. Like it's super creepy. And like what's good about it, the videos is that they're very like say grainy and low quality. And look, we all know that like if surveillance video today is like 4K, right? So
Yeah.
it's it's again making you believe in this like imaginary world like that this exists and it might have
So does it
happened, but
take place in the 90s, the movie? I mean, I don't know if that's a
I no, I
spoiler.
think it's take no, I don't think so. No, I think it's in
Oh,
the present. But
interesting.
again, it gives this
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
nostalgic vibe to it,
Yeah.
right? It felt more like that this was more about creating this feeling that this was like something that was like hacked together or amateurish. Someone
Hmm.
got their CCTV and put it on a website, and
Yeah, yeah.
the
But it's also
unlisted
a
YouTube.
small town, which probably wouldn't
Yes,
have the best CCTV, right? Like this isn't, high
true.
grade 4K HD
Yeah,
TV type, grade. So maybe that's also part of the
it
marketing.
it makes it believable, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
And
totally.
then, like the 2 hour surveillance video, if you go to Reddit, people were going through every second and every frame of that video trying to find clues, right? So people were
Love
getting
it.
super invested into the story. A lot of people had lots of different theories of what was going on. Someone found, for example, on I think a certain second near the end of the video, if you pause it on one frame, you could see an image of a guy staring on the screen, and everyone then had like crazy theories about what is this. And I love when like people invest the time to create these like kind of like experiences.
Yeah, for sure. So
And
we've talked about that before. We've started calling that forensic fandom, where it's just, you're
okay,
essentially assuming that your audience is going to go do that research on Reddit, on, TikTok, and kind of put all the pieces together in order to find those clues that not only tell you about the movie, but like enhance your experience because you're living that shared experience with everybody else that's in Reddit with you or on, social media and talking about like the thing. And what I really like about it is that not everybody has to participate in that, but the people that do feel like it's a shared experience with everybody else that's in it. But you can just be a regular person that goes to watch the movie and enjoys it for what it is. And you don't have to necessarily participate in the rest of this, though you might after you hear about this, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I was one of those people. Like, I mean, I went to the movie not really knowing much about it. I wasn't
Mhm.
one of the people invested from the April timeline, and I
Yeah.
loved the movie. And I liked it so much, is why I decided I want to go back and look at like, what is the backstory, what happened here. And then I just saw that like it had this like really interesting backstory about how it built up the mystery, the hype. It didn't reveal much at any point, so they never really gave away any plot details. And I mean, like, I don't know about you, but I really hate seeing movie trailers that give away so much, and you're like in the cinema waiting for the thing to happen because you know it's going to happen. You've seen it in the
Mhm.
trailer. Whereas this was very restrained. It only revealed certain layers that didn't give anything away, except that you knew there was something really creepy going to happen. Right? You just knew that something was building up and there was a lot of tension. And then it was like we've seen it with other movies as well recently, like Smile and Long Legs. They've all done like this type of like, stunt and experience, but all of
So
these
all
movies kind of
horror movies, I wonder if
yeah.
that's the common theme here, right? Because it's obviously most people don't want to know the spoiler of who did it or like what's gonna happen, so that you can experience the jolt of it while you're there. So it makes sense that that's a thing that is happening here with like horror movies.
Yeah, and it was also, I think, if you remember Dark Knight movie, there was like a lot of hidden
Hmm.
Easter eggs in like pre-releases. Like people had to go into source code to find out was the Joker involved or not involved. And
I don't remember that. No, I mean that's so
yeah,
long ago.
yeah. It's like there's a lot of these like experience. But what I really liked about I think Weapons though was that it didn't try to fool you. It
Right.
created the world intentionally that like it feels real, but it's not real. Even on the website, if you look at the footer, it's like it says made by Warner Brothers, right? So it's not like
Mm.
it's not hidden, you know.
That is
Um,
interesting because I do remember with the Blair Witch Project, there was more of like people questioning, like, wait, is this real? And I remember people believing it was real for like a really long time before, it came out that, oh no, they're like actors, but, small time actors that you've never heard of. So they really did try to like make it seem as if it was real.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that during the week, and I was like wondering, like, okay, was that intentional, or was it because social media wasn't like everywhere, right? And people were getting fragments of the story, and they were
Hmm.
never getting the full story. Whereas, could you
Now,
pull
yeah.
that off today, right? Where everything is like everywhere all at once, right? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, and
but
the culture has changed as well, I think. Like back in the day, the whole idea of spoilers, like they weren't really like there was just less of a way for you to find out. Whereas now, I mean, this is one thing that like pisses me off sometimes is
yes,
like people will talk about spoilers on Twitter and just there for everybody to read. And I'm like, it's opening day. Like, why are you talking about this before most people have seen it? Like, keep it to at least Sunday. And if not, like do something to like hide how you're talking about it so that if people do want to read it before they go or if they want to read it because they actually already saw the film, make it easier for people that to do that.
yeah, totally. And I think it's like this term, like, engineered authenticity. I feel like this experience is engineered, but at the same time, it feels authentic because they're not trying to
Hmm.
fool you about it being engineered. It's
Right.
created purposely and it's appealing to people's intelligence and it's not trying to fool people into like
Hmm.
making them imagine it is real. Um, and I think the other thing that's quite interesting about it is like, and we talked about it taking other topics, it's this like trend of imperfection, right? Because the
Hmm.
website is crappy, the CCTV footage is crappy, it's revealed very slowly out, and also what's good about it is the branding is very distinctive. Like you describe the kids with their arms out. That's the only movie poster. I mean, that's the image they showed everywhere. So it's very
Yeah.
identifiable. Um, but this imperfection is interesting, right? Because like we're in the age of AI, right, where everything is like AI is too perfect, and
Hmm.
nearly now to prove to someone that you're a human, you have to write with typos, like just to that you are not a robot, right? And if you don't write
Right.
with typos, you're yeah, you're potentially a robot. Um, and I think there's something interesting there, and it's kind of like going back maybe even further to punk rock. That was like, and that was a response to manufactured music. And
Hmm.
are we going to see more trends in terms of like being manufactured imperfections and in like say engineered authenticity, like weapons, right? Um, and more experiences like Labubus. I mean, that are like just going to be just kind of like weirdly not real, but not perfect, but kind of scrappy experience. While at the same time, people are looking for the GLP-1s.
Right. It all ties back together.
Uh, yeah.
Um, yeah, no, that's super interesting. I think one of the other things that you had mentioned was that they did have campaigns where they had world stunts of kids dressed up
Yes.
and like doing the run in public spaces in cities worldwide. So there's still that like element of creating real world experiences in order to kind of call attention to the movie itself, which I think is like doing really well. We called that out with like the Final Destination truck that had like the wooden logs, driving around the 405 here in LA and then in other highways around the United States, to really like call out those moments that like people recognize in order to try to, get a movie into the monoculture so people like know more about it. And clearly it's worked really well because the movie's doing really well.
Yeah.
And then it's also a really good movie from what I hear. I don't know, I haven't watched it
Yeah, no,
yet.
it's a great movie. I recommend definitely go see it. But I think there's something really interesting what you said, right? Is that like they revealed very little, but everything they revealed was a consistent brand identity,
Mhm,
right? Because it was always a video or a poster or a clip of the kids with their arms in a certain way
mhm.
running, which is like super creepy. And I would love to know who came up with that whole like stunt of deciding
I
that
know.
kids need to run with their arms like this because
Yeah,
it is the creepiest thing ever. And like you said, then that branding translates everywhere, taking the kids
right.
onto the Venice beach, into Berlin, into Paris, getting them to run around. It's the minute they see that, they see a poster, it all clicks together, right, very quickly. So I would love
I
to know if
do
they reversed engineered it from this sole
yeah,
idea, and how can we create a movie with kids running
yeah.
like this?
I think it also calls out that it's a different type of horror. That it's not just about it being like bloody and like gorish and stuff. It's more about like that the horror that you feel at seeing kids react like weirdly or do something that's like out of
Yeah,
character. But then also leaving home, the fact that they're leaving home in such a weird way is so creepy. Especially parents, we don't like that. We
yeah.
have to like watch this movie to see like what's happening.
Yeah, I love horror movies, right? And usually horror movies, like, they're not that scary, but this film, like, if you watch it in the cinema, it is unsettling. You will be
Mhm.
uncomfortable. It's going to be a huge hit. The movie is actually also quite funny, and
Mm.
his background is he's a comedian. And if it wasn't the best horror, it could be the best comedy because there is actually like laugh out loud scenes in it as well, which is really ironic. But the other thing was, I was reading about like why he created this film and where it came from was that one of his best friends died very suddenly, literally very randomly walked off a
Mhm.
balcony.
That's
And
wild.
yeah, and I think for his grief, he was trying to like, process the loss. And this
Mm.
movie is kind of about loss, right? These kids are there, and next thing they just walk out the house and disappear, and there's no answers.
Mhm.
And it's like how his friend disappeared, there was no answers. So I think it's very raw, the movie, and I think it comes from that kind of
Mhm.
really, like, honest place from his own experience. So I think that's maybe why it connects with a lot of people.
Yeah. I think overall what I'm kind of seeing, from this is the whole idea of how you're participating in something, right? Whether that's through the film itself, like going to actually see it, which we talked about here with K-pop Demon Hunters and the Zoran Mumdani scavenger hunt. It's just people really want to experience things in person a lot more.